side. Don't leave me here high and dry. Oh, 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 oh,
everybody. I would like to call to order the regular meeting of the Parks and Recreation Commission for Wednesday, January 24th, 2024 at 4:03 p.m. May I have a roll call, please?
Chair Feck, Vice Chair McGill,
Here.
Commissioner Aldana,
Present.
Commissioner Chang,
Here.
Commissioner Clark, Commissioner Lesnar Buxton, Commissioner Enander LaBerge.
Here.
All right, thank you very much. Do we have any changes to the agenda?
Vice Chair McGill, the only question for you and the commission is whether to delay the last item on the agenda since we have two commissioners that are not present. That's the advisory committee liaison appointments, but I leave it to your discretion.
I'm inclined, well, it probably really doesn't matter. Thank you. It probably really doesn't matter because both of them are on the same, they basically liaise for the same thing, which is youth council, so it only impacts one. It really only impacts one committee. I'm inclined to go ahead, and then if there's an issue, we'll sort it out. All right?
That's fine. We can
Okay.
continue with the item.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And then that takes us to written public comment. There wasn't anything that came into my inbox. Is there anything that we need to see?
No, there's not.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, that then takes us to public comment. Any member of the public may address the commission for up to 2 minutes on any subject within the jurisdiction of the commission that is not scheduled for a public discussion before the commission. The total amount of time for public comment will be 15 minutes. I do not have any speaker slips. Is there anybody online?
Vice Chair McGill, there is no one online.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, that then takes us to Commissioner Committee assignment reports. And I will start on my right. Commissioner Enander LaBerge.
Thank you. I have not attended the January meeting for the the Arts and Crafts. However, I was contacted by a member of the show who had some matters that they wanted to talk with me about or share and discuss, and I invited him to email me those, and if any other members wanted to as well, and I will circle back with the director to find out what to do with that information. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Aldana.
I did attend the ribbon cutting ceremony for the Eastside Park. That was last week. It was nice to see the park complete and many years in the making, and it was beautiful.
Yes, it was. Commissioner Clark.
I attended the Street Tree Advisory Committee meeting where we visited all the trees on our agenda. We'll talk more about that later. And unfortunately, I was unable to attend the Integrated Pest Management meeting.
Okay, thank you very much. And then Commissioner Chang.
I don't believe there was a meeting for the Gulf Advisory Group.
Okay, thanks. And that takes to me. I attended we had a Park Foundation meeting last week, which I attended, and it was a pretty straightforward meeting. We reviewed financials for 2 months and discussed fundraising opportunities for the band shell as it nears completion. I did attend the Integrated Pest Management meeting, which was also last week. It was nice to not only see the old members, but it was nice to actually welcome 2 new members, which was, I think, takes us to a full contingent, I believe. And then it was also a celebration of the 20-year anniversary, which was just kind of exciting because the committee has done such great work. And then we reviewed a couple of termite-related exemption requests. And then finally, I also attended the ribbon cutting at the East Side, and East Side Park, and I will echo Commissioner Aldana's comments. It was actually a lot of fun. It was great to see the kids. Definitely the most fun I've had at a ribbon cutting in my time on the commission. And the park looks great. It looks really good. All right. And then commission and staff communications? Anything?
Vice Chair McGill and Commissioners, no specific communications since your last meeting, but we will be receiving some information next week about our upcoming community outreach workshops for the Franceschi House re-envisioning process. Stay tuned, as we'll be launching it on Monday,
Okay.
January 29th, in advance of the meeting.
Okay, great, thanks. We will look forward to that. All right. Employee recognition, ceremonial items, any service award pins this month?
Vice Chair McGill and Commissioners, yes. Ray Unzueta, whose official classification today is Senior Maintenance Worker, received recognition for his 10 years of service. I would like to say that that classification title hardly represents the incredible work that he does on behalf of our department. Ray came into the department as an hourly employee working in the forestry section and then transitioned into a permanent position as a tree trimmer. He held that position for quite some time. When we had a vacancy in this maintenance worker classification position, Ray was promoted to that position, and really it should be master craftsman. He does incredible carpentry work on behalf of the department. He is responsible for many of the small repairs that we do throughout our park system. He came to us from the construction industry with these skills. And so when you see new signs in the park, when you see a park bench that's been replaced, when you see even the bench around the playground at Shoreline Park, which is curved and was constructed in 1968, Ray has the skills to actually repair that so that we can retain the original design and intent of that bench. So he received his 10-year recognition, and I have to say he's integral to the entire department on many levels, and obviously works very closely with our Parks Division maintenance staff as well.
Thank you so much, and congratulations, Mr. Unzueta. People with those skills and that dedication are pretty much priceless and are to be treasured. Sounds like he deserves a plaque on one of those benches. All right, and if that's it for ceremonial items, let's move on to consent items. And as we have just one item on the summary of council actions, does anybody have any questions for Director Zachary? Okay. Then that takes us to the minutes. And the recommendation is that the commission waive the reading and approve the minutes of the regular meeting of December 13th, 2023. I will go ahead and make the motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Okay, so we have, it was Commissioner Chang's beat, was first on the button. And I guess we need to do a vote now. Any discussions, comments, questions? Nope, we'll vote. Did somebody not lock? Oh. Okay, thanks. Okay, I believe that was, it flashed by, but it looked like it passed, which takes us to our trees. And Superintendent Slack, welcome.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair McGill and Commissioners. The first Street Tree Advisory Committee recommendation for review is a request to remove 4 trees. 3 of these trees are technically within the public right-of-way, and one's within the front setback of the property at 215 Cannon Drive. The applicant's requesting removal of the trees due to the development of the property. They're proposing to put an ADU on this site. It's a really unique parcel. The actual property sits way above, up on the upper portion of the slope on Cannon Drive. Cannon Drive kind of loops around, so this is essentially kind of like the backyard, but since it fronts a street, there's a setback, a front setback there as well. And again, the rationale for removal is development of property. So the first clump to the right of the photograph of these trees is in direct conflict with the driveway. And then it was sort of like a multi-stem tree. It was kind of a clump of trees back in the front setback, is in direct conflict with the proposed structure. The committee reviewed the trees and noted that the glossy privets likely germinated on their own. Somebody probably planted the jacarandas. We don't see a lot of jacarandas just kind of popping up on their own. We don't know where they came from, but somebody probably installed them many years ago. Some of the commentary was just kind of like unkempt, sort of wild area. I think they appreciated that. There was consensus that the proposed improvements made practical sense and that the trees weren't really being maintained, did contribute to the site, but not significantly. There was discussion on site. The applicant was present as well regarding replacements. Originally, replacement trees weren't really part of the proposal. The committee commented that they were of the opinion that it would be really beneficial to the neighborhood and trying to maintain sort of the natural landscape to put trees back in the place due to the site constraints. And I think from just a sort of a screening perspective, most of that was focused around planting trees back in the public right-of-way, and the applicant was pretty supportive of that. Staff did clarify that if the trees were in the right-of-way, they wouldn't be considered like city street trees. We don't have city street trees in the area, and it would be a burden for the department to take on maintenance obligations of those trees. So staff did provide that clarification. After review, the committee made a recommendation to approve the removals on the condition that a minimum of 3 replacement trees were planted on site that can achieve a mature height of at least 25 feet at maturity, with at least 2 of those being in the public right-of-way, and made the finding that a reasonable and practical development of the property applied to the tree located within the setback.
Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, I have 2. One, and they're unrelated to each other, so I'll ask them separately. The first one is just a comment on the, going into the comment that some or all likely germinated naturally on their own. I've not seen that previously be a criterion, well, a rationale for tree removal, so I'm just wondering if that's just kind of an offhand comment, or if that's some kind of shift in thinking.
Vice Chair McGill and Commissioners, I think it's just part of the commentary that occurred in terms of where the trees came from. I think when you look at the rationale for removal, it's purely for the development of the property.
Okay, thanks. And then my second question is around the, just how it works when something is on the right-of-way but not considered a street tree. I'm just wondering, and very clearly stated that it is the responsibility of the owner. Are there any legal issues with having something on the public right-of-way not, I'm thinking, future action, would it be considered a street tree if somebody down the road wanted it to be removed? Are there any legal issues with it being in a right-of-way but not being a street tree?
Vice Chair McGill and Commissioners, we actually see quite a few trees that are in the right-of-way that aren't city trees. So if it's not an official city tree, if we did not plant the tree or cause the tree to be planted, it's not as a city tree. That's like an undue burden on the city department to just absorb every tree that's in the right-of-way. And there's a specific code that has there's adjacent property owner responsibility. And within the Street Tree Community Code of 15.20, it does place all responsibility for essentially all vegetation maintenance, including all trees that are not city trees. That obligation for maintenance is on the adjacent property owner. And to that point, further within that code, the Street Tree Code, a permit's required for removal of trees in the parkway. So we still see quite a few trees that do actually occur in the public right-of-way that are not city street trees, but a permit is still required, similar to a setback.
Okay, so it's treated more like a setback tree than a...
Essentially, it's the same thing.
So it's more, so it's distinct from, say, a tree that's right along the sidewalk that happened to be a volunteer or a person planted and shouldn't have 40 years ago, and that would be treated as a street tree.
Vice Chair McGill and Commissioners, it's difficult to apply, wholesale across the community. I think a lot of times when you look at more of a true parkway scenario where you have sidewalk and you have
That's what I'm
curb and
thinking,
gutter,
yeah.
there's been a lot of trees that have been folded into the inventory. Whereas in areas like this, where especially when you look at trees that are further offset from the curb and gutter, where you're 7-8 feet away, but you're still within the right of way of the property, or within the street right of way, those would not be city
Okay.
street trees.
Okay, thanks, that helps, yeah. It always seems a little bit, gray when you get into that world. All right. Any questions or a motion? Okay, fine, I'll make.
Chair
Okay, go ahead.
McGill,
You go.
you do have one public comment, but I believe it's for questions only.
Okay. Oh, I didn't see a agenda item. Oh, I didn't understand the agenda, the agenda item number. Okay, so it's Jared Gonin, is that correct? Gorin, okay. Thank you, Director Zachary, yeah.
Yeah, hi, Jared Gordon from Vanguard Planning. We represent the applicant on this, and I was just here if you had questions about it. We're totally on board with the replacement trees. We're gonna put them in locations that are maybe a little bit further back. You can see those power lines there, and we're looking for a tree that isn't gonna create this situation where Southern California Edison has to come in and top the tree, and it looks terrible. And so we'll put them a little bit further back there, but still provide some nice screening and all. And so that's our plan, and if you had any questions, I can answer those.
Okay, great, thank you very much.
All right.
Okay. All right. If no one has any questions, or discussion, I will entertain a motion. I will make a motion. I will make a motion that we approve the request to remove the 4 trees, the 2 jacarandas and the 2 glossy privets at 215 Cannon Drive, contingent on them being replaced by at least 3 trees, 2 of which are in the public right-of-way, and the rationale for the approval is it's a reasonable and practical development.
I'll second
I
that.
thought I did, at least 25 feet, I thought I did. Yeah, they need to be capable of achieving a height of 25 feet. There it is, okay, at maturity.
I'll second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Unless there is any discussion, we will go to a vote. All right, thank you very much, it's approved. And now we go to Apple Grove Lane.
The next Street Tree Advisory Committee recommendation for review is the request to remove a Chinese juniper. This is also a right-of-way tree at 311 Apple Grove Lane. The applicant was requesting removal of this tree due to a desire to improve the landscape, go in a different direction, just generally not happy with the specific tree, and then concerns with the water meter. Really close to the base of this tree is the water meter to the property at 311 Apple Grove, and then also the immediately adjacent property as well. The committee reviewed the application, looked at the tree. In terms of juniper, it's a pretty exemplary specimen of juniper. It's been really well taken care of and really healthy. Those were comments from the committee. I think in terms of looking at the concern with the water meter, there was no previous documentation that there was any damage. So you've got this really large mature tree that's essentially kind of developed with the water meters. And the property owner, again, didn't have any real information with any previous issues. It was more just general concern with the tree's close proximity to the water meter. There was quick consensus amongst the committee that due to the size and the health and just the sort of the unique nature of this tree, that it was pretty valuable to the street, to the property, and after review, they made a recommendation to deny the request for the removal of the Chinese juniper at 311 Apple Grove Lane.
Thank you very much, Mr. Slack. Does anybody have any questions? I do not. There are no speaker slips. Is there anybody online?
Vice Chair McGill, there's no one online.
Okay, great, thanks. Yeah, I mean, to my mind, going up there, it seemed like a pretty important tree to the neighborhood. It's not a tree, it's not a neighborhood with a huge amount of canopy, and I thought it was a gorgeous tree. And didn't see any signs of any kind of disruption in the hardscape of the road, the curbs. Yeah. Is anybody prepared to make a motion?
Sure. I'll move to deny, to follow the recommendation of the committee and deny the application to remove the Chinese juniper.
And Commissioner Clark?
I'll second.
Okay. Any further discussion? We will vote. All right, and that takes us, I believe, to the master plan in Anapamu again.
Vice Chair McGill and Commissioners, the last street tree advisory recommendation for review is it's just a designation change. It's for the 0 to 200 block of East Anapamu Street. You may remember a few months back, we looked at a project for the downtown library where they were granted approval to remove some street trees. As part of that application, the landscape architect called out a specific species that they would like to use as the street tree in front of the library. It didn't conform with the current designation for the 0 block of East Anapamu. So we agendized it to discuss and modify the designation. Rather than just do one block, we looked at the 0 to 200 blocks for more consistency and just kind of to expand. There were palm tree designations on other blocks that it's advantageous to kind of move in a different direction from that and utilize a shade tree. During discussion, the crepe myrtle was what was proposed for in front of the library. The committee was pretty supportive of incorporating that into the designation, but did want to kind of build on just the diversity and the species profile that's available to staff in terms of utilization of street tree planting within these blocks. And after extensive discussion and review, the committee made a recommendation to approve the yellow trumpet tree, the trident maple, and hybrid crepe myrtle varieties for the 0 to 200 blocks of East Anapamu.
Okay, thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions?
Yes.
Okay, so Commissioner Aldana.
Okay, so you mentioned up to the 200 blocks, so that means 3 blocks, correct?
Vice Chair McGill and Commissioner Aldana, that is correct.
So that would take it up to
Garden?
Garden.
So it would be from State to Anacapa, from Anacapa to Santa Barbara, and Santa Barbara to Garden.
And then, so where the courthouse is, where they have the tall palms, will you plant anything between the palms to create shade?
Vice Chair McGill and Commissioner Aldana, I don't anticipate that happening anytime soon. I think that it's always something that we look at doing. You'll see us do that on Upper State within the next year. Up by Mackenzie Park, we're actually going to be putting shade trees in between the palm trees, but that typically is always piggybacked with like transportation streets projects where they can facilitate opening up the tree wells. But if given an opportunity to do that in the future, I think that's always part of our program's goal to do that. And then long-term, as you see just, mortality of the palms, we would look to utilize the existing locations with the shade tree gradually over time as well.
Mm-hmm. So currently, there'll be nothing on the 100 block of East Anapamu.
Essentially, that's correct.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions? Okay, I have no speaker slips. Is there anybody online?
Vice Chair McGill, there's no one online.
Okay, thanks very much. So I will take discussion and/or a motion.
I'm prepared to make a motion
Okay, thank you.
to code designate the yellow trumpet tree, the trident maple, and the hybrid crepe myrtle for the, I don't know how you even have to say that, 00 to 200 blocks of East Anapamu.
I'll second.
Oh,
think Commissioner Chang got there first. So we have a motion and a second. And if there is no further discussion, we will go to a vote. All right, and so approved. Thank you very much. And, my word, that takes us to the director's report.
Vice Chair McGill and Commissioners, we have a few things we'd like to share this month with you. The first is the turf renewal that we did at Ledbetter Beach Park. That was initiated prior to the holiday season, and if you're a frequent user of that area, the space was entirely fenced in for a long time. We had to do a lot of work removing the old turf material, prepping the soil, and then bringing in sod. We worked with a contractor to do this work, and although we were hopeful we would be opening in the beginning of January, our rainstorm at the holiday season slowed that down a little bit. We had a little bit of damage, and then, as you can imagine, with the rest of the waterfront, the high surf and high tides that we then sustained made us rather nervous about what would happen to the park, but luckily it actually was in pretty good shape overall. So with the new year, staff got to work. We actually replaced all the barbecues. We put them in a more sustainable location, so they're actually in the concrete rather than in the turf, and therefore making it more complicated to manage the turf. If you are familiar with the Canary Island palms that are also there, substantial amount of work was done to those, and those sort of flank the group picnic area and the beach. So they look wonderful, and then also a lot of mulching that was completed. This is the last turf renovation the department's been able to do with the American Rescue Plan Act funding. So we have been able to take on projects that have been on our wish list for a long time. This one specifically, I found an old document and we started talking about it, about 15 years ago. So, things in Parks and Recreation take 3 years if we're lucky at Eastside Neighborhood Park, although it was probably 20 years overdue. And this took much longer, but we're very happy it's done. We've gotten great feedback from the community. It's a well-loved locals location, as well as an opportunity for people who visit Santa Barbara to enjoy the beach. Vice Chair McGill and Commissioner Aldana, thank you for attending the ribbon cutting event at Eastside Neighborhood Park. We spent a lot of time doing lots of great work at that park. It took longer than we thought. It had to be multi-phased because of our funding sources, because we had an initial grant from Community Development Block Grant for the restroom, and then we had a second grant, which we then used for the young kids playground, the 2 to 5-year-old playground, and then we had matching funds from the city. So it was like this constant moving pieces that we used to build the project out. So it was actually 3 different projects that ultimately rolled into, actually 4, if you include the improvements that are just about to be finished at the community garden at that park. We had a great turnout at the ribbon cutting event. The neighborhood has been faithfully waiting for that park to be made available to them again, as well as the children that go to the local elementary school. And just as a few fun facts, we brought in 250 cubic yards of mulch, which is hard to imagine, but that was many, many, many truckloads. Forestry staff were engaged. Park staff were critical to redoing the irrigation. Project management staff, recreation staff. It was really truly a internal effort on all of the divisions in the department. And it was designed by department staff. So we did not hire a landscape architect or an engineer to do the work. It was entirely done internally. The total cost, when you sort of add everything up, was just over $1 million. And that half of it was funded through community development block grants. And I bring that to your attention because this department has been able to make so many really critical park improvements in neighborhoods of greatest need thanks to the community development block grant program. because of the way things have changed with the census data, this park is actually no longer eligible for community block grants because it no longer qualifies. So we're seeing a lot of change throughout our neighborhoods as to what the data says in terms of the lowest income and the greatest income needs. Luckily, the west side still applies. I mentioned we've applied for a grant. We actually brought to the commission for Alice Keck Park Memorial Garden, but we're losing places that we used to be able to apply for grant funds. So luckily, we got in under the wire before the census data changed and made all these improvements. Other thing to report to the commission is summer camp registration, believe it or not, is opening in early February. We determined last year that we needed to start earlier and move faster. We're finding other agencies and organizations are doing the same, and parents and families really want to know what their menu of options are. It also helps us forecast the types of scholarships that we'll need and how we can plan for those as well. So you can already look at what we have online at our website, and it's in your report, santabarbaraca.gov/camps. And we have 2 different registration events that, depending on the popularity of the camp, starting with junior lifeguards, ceramics, and nature camp, which opens on Friday, February 2nd, which is just around the corner. And then general registration follows after that, and then summer fun in April. We're also, believe it or not, as usual, hiring summer camp positions. So if you know of any young people that want to work for our department this summer, they can apply online as well. Happy to answer any questions the commission might have.
What's,
We'll start with Commissioner Chang.
Oh, no, it's okay.
No.
Oh, well, okay. The only name I've got up here is Nicole's, but I saw lots of hands going to buttons, so.
well, we got the, yeah, this, maybe I should be using this one over here.
Okay.
But-
Did you have a question?
Yes, I do. Regarding the youth, what's the youngest that could be hired for the camping?
Vice Chair McGill, Commissioner O'Donnell, how young can a camper be?
No, to work.
Oh, to work. We have kids that are 14 and 15 if they have work permits that can work. Yeah,
Okay.
but we need to, be mindful of how we buddy up younger camp counselors. We also have a vibrant junior camp counselor program where younger kids come in and sort of learn how to be a camp counselor and then come back and actually get paid to do the job. So that's a really viable program as well.
So
Got
is the
it.
junior
Thank you.
camp counselor, just a follow-up, the junior camp counselor program, that's actually a camp event in its own right that you register for?
No, actually, it's part of it's part of a camp. And so there is a registration for it and
Okay.
registration fee, but they play a slightly different role.
Okay.
And it's for an older child.
Okay, thanks. Commissioner Chang?
This is actually following up on something Commissioner Aldana brought up a few meetings ago, but are the marketing materials just in English for the summer camps, or are they expanded?
Yes, everything should be bilingual, but don't quote me on exactly what that looks like since I don't do the outreach for it.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Commissioner Aldana?
And who does the outreach?
Vice Chair McGill and Commissioner Aldana, it's done through web, social media, any number of avenues. Things are posted in any number of ways.
And if
We used to do paper, and put out a whole schedule. That just, it's not happening anymore. That doesn't happen, which is good because it saves us a lot of money on printing. It's
And if
much
we
more
wanted to reach
cost-effective.
out to the outreach coordinator, who would that be?
Aaron Blasey.
Aaron
I can
Blake?
follow up with you afterward.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, that was something, I think it came up was it 2 meetings ago? It definitely struck the commission as a gap, the lack of, the lack of complete bilingual outreach.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, thanks for the follow-up. Yeah, I'm excited. It's all good news, and whoever thought to bring the kids out to the East Side Park ribbon cutting that was a stroke of genius.
Vice
Made it
Chair
fun.
McGill, it was Councilmember Alejandro Gutierrez.
Yeah, it really made it a lot of fun. Yeah. All right, and I think we have no old business, and that takes us to new business, which is the Chumash Cultural, first one is Chumash Cultural Project at Ambassador Park.
Vice Chair McGill, I'm going to do some of the introductory sides, and Matt Wilkins, who's from KTOA, who's the consulting firm that worked with us on this project, will actually walk you through some of the design work. And if you just give us 2 seconds.
Sure.
All right, Vice Chair McGill, Commissioners, thank you for your patience. We're very pleased to be here today to share with you a body of work that the department did in collaboration with many members of our Chumash community, project funded by the State Coastal Conservancy, and then also with the incredible design assistance from KTUA. And as I mentioned, Matt Wilkins, the project manager, will be walking you through the design. I'll do a little bit of introduction, and I do have a speaker slip that I'll hand out for Mark Yee, who will be speaking in public comment. All right, I gotta change mouses. There we go. So for those of you that aren't familiar with Ambassador Park, it's located along Cabrillo Boulevard. It's within Santa Barbara's waterfront between Mason Street and Cabrillo Boulevard. It has a very rich history in Santa Barbara's Chumash heritage as providing space and being integral to the 6th June Village. What it then became more known for with European settlement is it was actually a pedestrian paseo that led to the Potter / and then Ambassador Hotel, which is how it got its namesake. After the hotel burned down and the Ambassador track was carved up, this little postage stamp of a ½ acre was gifted to the city for a public park. In the records, there's actually discussion of the city actually trying to take on the whole tract, and if you can imagine if that entire tract had been a city park, it would be very different than it is today. The park was designated a city landmark in 1990, and today, as we know, it is a simple palm tree-lined park with about a ½ acre of open turf. It's flanked on either side by a hotel, Hotel Milo now, and there are some residential areas, and then there's actually an apartment building across the street on Mason. The genesis of this project, since Rachel Couch from our Coastal Conservancy is not able to attend, really came from a violation that occurred elsewhere, a cultural resources violation, and mitigation funding that was generated as a result of that. The Coastal Conservancy convened a group with many members of the Chumash community over a period of years to identify a location where those mitigation funds could be used to offset the impact to the cultural resource. Ambassador Park was selected due to its importance to Chumash heritage and the opportunity that it could provide to both honor and celebrate the Chumash people and their culture, as well as be able to educate visitors about really the history of Santa Barbara beyond just European settlement. And as I mentioned, funding was provided through the Coastal Conservancy. Because it's a city park, of course, they approached Parks and Recreation, and we became a partner in the project and we secured the funds. As part of securing the funds, we also did a request for proposals, which led to hiring KTUA as the site designer. The conceptual plan development occurred over about 1.5 years. This is in advance of a number of years of discussion. Very key to the work effort is that the involvement and communication and coordination and engagement of Chumash community members really drove how we pursued design concepts and opportunities for this site, since essentially it is to honor their people and their heritage. We held 4 workshops on site at the park. We also did a video and an online survey to gather information. And through that process, developed 3 different alternatives. Those alternatives were reviewed during these on-site workshops, and then ultimately a final conceptual plan was put together based on all of the feedback and discussion that we had, which was advanced to the Historic Landmarks Commission. Because the property is landmarked, it's also in the El Pueblo Viejo district, the design review body for any changes to this park, our Historic Landmarks Commission. As we move through the process with design, this project will come back to your commission because you will also be engaged in making final recommendations to City Council regarding how to reimagine and revision this project. So today's presentation is really informational. We'll be coming back at a future date with more design concepts as it gets further developed, and then that's when the commission will be asked to make findings related to the project. With that, I'm going to turn the presentation over to, to Matt to walk through the work effort that we have.
Thank you. Vice Chair McGill and fellow commissioners, thank you for the time this evening. This project is really an amazing project of not only design, but really bringing together various groups. We do have Marky here in the audience. He has represented the project for the Chumash through the entire process. And it really was a great collaboration with Ms. Zachary, staff, and the stakeholders. So I will walk you through the site. I'm sure all of you are familiar with this park site as it currently stands. It is located on Cabrillo Boulevard. So the image on the top left there is the public right-of-way that abuts the park just to the west of it there. The park does have amazing views that are really framed by the palm trees there, the Canary Island palm trees. And it is really, this great vista as you look on the bottom right down to the beach there. And there is an homage to the Chumash there across the street. There's a beautiful mosaic there. So this really is a great location and full with a lot of historical and archaeological elements that we were very sensitive to through this project. So again, this is the site as it stands today. On the right-hand side is Cabrillo Street. On the left-hand side is Cabrillo Boulevard, and then Mason Street on the left-hand side. As Mrs. Zachary pointed out, it is framed on either side by Hotel Milo, and then on the top left-hand side there are some residential units. So the design really went through a lot of iterations, a lot of involvement with the various stakeholders in collaboration with the city. I am honored to say that we are very happy with this design where it landed. It did get high praise from HLC as well as the various stakeholders that we were working with. And I'll walk you through some of the design elements, open up for some discussion and questions. Certainly, as Ms. Zachary mentioned, this is only the starting point. I've been honored to work on a few other master plans, and I know they take some time. Ortega Park, Dwight Murphy Park here within the city. So this is one that we know will go forward with some additional refinement. But we did take into account a lot of those elements here, and on the right-hand side, you'll see there's really an entry element there that ties to the mosaic that is on the other side of Cabrillo Boulevard. And it really is meant to have an entrance statement into the park. It speaks to some of the creation stories from the Chumash that are very beautiful and elegant in their own right, and has the ability there to really create some prominence into that park site and signify that you're entering a site that has some significance and also allow for some educational signage and elements to be placed. I will go through some images, but I do want to touch on some of the site elements here in plan view so you can tie those two together, and I'll toggle through so you can see them. But you can see on the bottom right-hand side, number 2, there's a sign location down there, which I'll touch on. Number 3 as well, that has a interpretive sign location. Call-out number 4 are 2 seating nodes that are tucked in adjacent to the pathway, and really that entire pathway is meant to allow for pausing and having some ability to walk through and enjoy that space, learn about that space, and frame some of the views as you go through there. We do have various elements etched into the concrete there that are significant to the Chumash, various animals of such, and then there will be some ethnobotanical planting on either side, called out on number 5. So that will allow for some other educational elements there throughout the park site. And then as you go further east, there are some areas there called out number 6 that allude to the really the significance of the village site there, and call attention to some of the uses, some of the patterns, some of the different basket patterns that are very beautiful in their own right. And those are placed really in a subtle way, but have some educational element there to it as well, and allow for some gathering. As you go up to area number 9, that is a gathering circle that is placed slightly off the main pathway, allows for some gathering and contemplative space, an area that could be educational as well. That image that you see there in that space is actually an image that was provided to us by the Chumash, and it is a significant symbol there that is meaningful. And so we were thinking that could be embedded into that space, made out of lithocrete or some type of seeded aggregate. We do have larger boulders that are placed within that space as well, that tie to the cardinal locations, which have significance to the Chumash. As you move further east, we do have a large tree there that is meant to be offset a bit and placed further east so it doesn't block views, but does provide some shade and allow to have more storytelling about the Chumash and their use of acorns or whatnot. Number 10, again, another interpretive sign. Number 11 is another interpretive sign. And then along Mason Street there's call out 12, which is the entrance. So hopefully that will cue you into some of the imagery here, and I'll go over these pretty quickly. So again, number 1, really looking at that entrance and having some significance to the Channel Islands, and having some imagery there that ties into that in either a mosaic or some type of lithocrete. Number 2 is just an illustration there, an example of an interpretive panel that could speak to the ocean coast and ocean bluffs. What we're working through here is looking at each of these directions and what they point to. What are the external uses of this site, and how the Chumash may have used this site as a starting point to go out and utilize the land and the beautiful area here. So this particular sign speaks to the open coast and ocean bluffs. Number 3 is speaking to the creek and marsh habitat. And then we'll show a couple more on the other slide here. Number 4, again, those are those small seating nodes that we talked about. One thing that we really wanted to work through here with our team, David Stone was the archaeologist on this project that we brought in to help with some of the design and work through this process. And we really thought that, coming up with materials that weren't blasphemous to the Chumash and to the site were critical here. So looking at stacked stone that could be done in a subtle way that, again, have some functional use to it. It allows for a little bit of raising of the earth around those mounds and behind them, so that you can showcase some of the planting and create a little bit of a refuge there, being mindful of sight lines and some of the CPTED principles that we like to take into account for design. Number 5, again, the Chumash ethnobotanical vegetation. We had a lot of great discussions with the Chumash, which will continue, and looking really for plants that are maintenance friendly. water-wise, but also help to tell a story. So we did provide a list, and that will be a part of the further refinement as we go forward, and thinking again about those maintenance needs and also how it can fit into the narrative of this site. Number 7 is the village setting and features. So again, elements there that speak to the use of the site. Number 7 is the exterior soft surface path and banding. There's DG paths that wind through the site. And the thought there is that we can have some elements of interpretation that get embedded into those bands. You see this often, in park sites where you have concrete bands, framing a DG path, but we thought it would be great to bring in maybe some etched wording or even some medallions there that have maybe words of the Chumash words for certain plants or animals. Number 8 is the large promenade walkway that goes through the interior of the site, and it is a firm surface path, so being mindful of ADA and path of travel, we did have to also be mindful about the remains and archaeological elements within the site. So there is a lot of thought in terms of slight raising of the site near the gathering circle. And so that path does have a slight climb and then drop. But also a story that gets told, again, with some of the animals that are depicted within that surface, and then just even the banding, subtle banding that moves through the site. Number 9 is, again, the gathering circle, so showing some of the ideas and thoughts there. And then 10 is another interpretive panel speaking to the oak woodland habitat that's just beyond over by the community college and some of the foothills there. And then the mountain chaparral habitat that's beyond and obviously in the background of beautiful Santa Barbara here. And then number 12, again, is really that Mason Street entrance. We do have some stacked stone walls, smaller walls there to help bring that site up in elevation at that location. And then also other elements to help bring some prominence to the site and let visitors know that they are entering a site that has some significance there. That was voiced through various interactions with the Chumash. So that covers some of the design elements. I do want to show some of the renderings that we put together to help visualize what the space may look like. On the top left is, again, that view from the entrance plaza along Cabrillo Boulevard. We do have some small stone elements there to, again, give a little bit of prominence to the entrance, but also be mindful and responsive to the materiality. B is a view looking along one of the DG pathways with, again, the concrete banding on either side and some of the plants that could be a part of that narrative and ethnobotanical planting for the Chumash. C on the bottom left is the village setting and those various seating areas there. Again, in a very subtle way, but allowing for more storytelling. And then D is a view within the gathering circle, looking back again at that beautiful framed view, but also showcasing that this space could be used for, slight gatherings and some other educational storytelling. We did put together a couple sections. So on the left-hand side is a section that cuts across the plan from Cabrillo Boulevard to Mason Street. And it does show there the mounding that we are anticipating. Of course, there's stormwater considerations that we are dealing with. And on the right-hand side of that section, you can see there are some slight depressions for dry swells. That did get worked in methodically into the design as well, so that with the habitat, marsh habitats and things of that nature, we can have some storytelling. So there's functional aspects embedded in with storytelling and design aspects here. And then on the right-hand side, a cross-section really to illustrate what that mounding looks like, not only because of the tie-in points to the side, but looking at how it mounds up to that gathering circle to allow for some views, exaggerated views, to the ocean, and then also protect some of the significant remains there. So I will turn it back over to you, Ms. Zachary.
All right, so looking forward to any questions and comments the commission has. I mentioned that the Coastal Conservancy granted the city funds for this first phase, so we had a $50,000 grant, and that paid for the design work of KTOA. They have additional funds that they would like us to apply to take this project forward to the next phase. So really diving into the next phase of design when we do more detailed preliminary design. We complete all the technical studies that we have to do. We will need to do archaeology again, although there's been archaeology studies done on this site before, and then go through the city's design review and land development process before we actually have a project that we would then be able to move forward with implementation. So we're working on that grant proposal now. The Coastal Conservancy has indicated that they could fund that in its entirety, the cost to do that, which would take us potentially to going out to bids for construction. That will take some time, because none of this happens overnight, and it also will, through this effort, we'll be continuing to engage Chumash community members in the design process, because things move around and change as you do design, and then there's questions that are still need to be answered. And we're at a point now where we have support from the Chumash community to actually share these concepts with the larger Santa Barbara public as we move forward. And with that, happy to take any of your questions, discussion, and public comment.
All right, well, thank you, Mr. Wilkins. Thanks, Ms. Zachary. It's pretty exciting. And what I will do is I'll do a round of questions up here, and then I'll go to public comment. And I see Commissioner Chang.
So who would be responsible for maintaining this, and is there a sense of how much the maintenance would cost?
Vice Chair McGill and Commissioner Chang, excellent question. It is a city park, so part of our engagement in this is to try to design something that can be as sustainably managed as possible. We do know Chumash people have suggested they would like to be part of that maintenance, so we have to take that into consideration, but also be able to ensure the city can actually step in and do that maintenance. So as we go further into design, we'll be verifying what those design elements are and the cost to maintain them.
Thank you. Commissioner Clark. Sorry.
Were there any elements of this design that the Chumash community did not like? And if there were, what were they?
Great question. I would say with good confidence here that we receive really good praise from the Chumash, that they are happy with the design. We did go through various iterations in which those comments were taken into account to get to this point. The elements that were brought up before were along the lines of, really just trying to make sure that the site wasn't overdeveloped in a sense, and to be mindful that less is more, and that this is really a place of observing and understanding the significance of the site. So being able to frame some of those elements in a very subtle way. So we feel that we've accomplished that. There's obviously more work to do as we move forward with design, but I believe, and I'll probably open that question up more so for Mark. I believe he submitted a speaker slip, so maybe Mark, you could touch on that briefly. But I do believe we've accommodated a lot of the comments and input that was received throughout the various meetings with the Chumash.
Vice Chair McGill and Commissioner Clark, I would just add, we didn't spend a lot of time going through the 3 different concept plans that were developed. But through that process, different pathway designs, different orientations, different vegetation options, aspects that we heard at the very first workshop, really we just collected information. There was no design work done. And so what you see here are trying to, bring those desires together. There's always, we designed it a little this way, no, we don't like that. Well, we don't really like that, but we really want and need and value having a gathering circle. Because the idea with this park space is that the Chumash will also be able to use it, right? It's not just a static park for anybody. And so what's important to them? And so when you see that gathering circle, the location and what it looks like went through a couple of iterations to get where we are today with the concept plan. And then again, we also, through our survey, we sort of asked, what's important to you? What do you want to see at the site? And resoundingly, what we heard back, among other things, is it providing an educational resource to the community and providing that, being sure that it does that, providing plants and landscape that are reminiscent or reflective of that time period, as well as also important to Chumash people today, and that can also exist in a park setting. So it's not like an open space or a natural area set off outside of a very busy waterfront. So taking those things into consideration. I will say we talked about the palm trees. Like, we have these palm trees. They are absolutely not what was here when the Chumash people were here. And some of the discussions we had around that is, well, as those palm trees age out, we need to plan for what goes instead. We just had that conversation about street trees. Is like, as things change, what would go there instead? More of those discussions will continue to happen, but that's how we landed on where we are, is pulling together all these elements that were of the highest priority to the Chumash people.
Thank you. Thanks. Commissioner Chang.
So I guess one thing that wasn't clear to me from the draft is, will there still be 2 entrances to the park? You can cross through it? Okay,
Yeah, I wasn't sure about that. Thanks.
that's all.
I guess I have. Okay, thanks. I'm losing track of what. I have one, and then I'll go to you. Okay. So the workshops, as I understand it, have been really with the Chumash community in building this design, and then Director Zachary, you said there will be a next step for the broader Santa Barbara community. How do you envision that process working, and how do you envision incorporating feedback from non-Chumash community?
Vice Chair McGill, pretty much the way we do with everything. There are some unanswered questions related to this, including how the park is used today, where that use might be relocated, how the park relates to the adjacent properties. There's currently no fencing. There's always concern with any park project that we have is like, who is this for and how will it be used? And how do I get to use it? I think key to this initial effort is this is the only public park that the city will have that will honor Chumash heritage. And we have so many other parks that have nothing. This has nothing now, too. You wouldn't know that it was part of an initial Chumash village. And so when we look at a park development and a park options, we weigh the pros and cons and the benefits to the different park users and the different needs. We do that with a fenced-off leash area. If this park gets, when we reimagine this park, what would change about its current use, and can that be accommodated somewhere else? We expect to have more of those conversations.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Aldana.
Yes, awesome design in the making. You mentioned that less is more, but was there any consideration of a restroom?
I think because of the size of the site, there's not a lot of ability to accommodate a restroom. I'll probably turn that question more so to Director Zachary to expand on.
Vice Chair McGill and Commissioner Aldana, no, there's no consideration for a restroom at this site for any number of reasons. There are a number of public restrooms very nearby. This is a culturally significant and a culturally sensitive site. So as a result, all of the development, we showed the cross-section, will actually be building on the existing park. So when we go in and put something in like a playground, we build very deep footings. We don't have the option to disturb the resources that are at this location. Underground utilities would clearly have that impact. And this is a site that people pass through and spend some time at. It's not a ball field or a neighborhood park where families might spend the entire afternoon.
Got it, understood.
Thanks. Okay, with that, I believe I will go to public comment in the order I received them. So the first speaker will be Mark Yee. Mr. Yee, come on forward, and the way it works is there'll be a little 2-minute countdown clock.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair, and I guess it's evening now, so good evening, Vice Chair and Commissioners. My name is Mark Yee, and I'm a current city resident. I live on Ocean View Avenue on the east side. Ambassador Park is located at the site of a Chumash village of Syuktun. My great-great-great-great-grandfather was a last Wat, or chief, at this village of Syuktun. My great-great-great-grandmother, Maria Ignacia, was born at Syuktun in 1798. She was the last living person to be born at the village of Syuktun. She died in 1865. And my grandmother, Mary Yee, is the last native speaker of the Chumash Barbaronyo dialect, Chumash language here. The first written reference of Syuktun is from the Spanish explorer Juan Cabrillo in 1542. This was the site of the largest Chumash village that he encountered on the coast. There was hundreds of people at that time that lived at this village. This is currently a California historical landmark, which yielded some of the most important archaeological evidence found in California. So in 2017, the State Coastal Conservancy approached the Chumash in the area, Chumash from Santa Barbara to Goleta to San Ynez to Ojai, and they informed us they wanted to disperse funds that were received from the Bacara for the Coastal Act violations. So my brother was the chair of the band at the time, and I told my brother, hey, I've got this great idea. There's this park that I run past all the time. It's underutilized. This would be a great place to spend this money and to acknowledge the existence of the Chumash people that have been here for thousands of years. It's in an urban area, and there's access for all people. I think it's currently mostly used for dog walkers, but I think by going forward with this project, you'd be able to open it up to all, the whole community, and be inclusive. So that's my time is up, so thank you.
Thank you very much. So before you go, I want to ask you 2 questions.
Sure.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll go first. So my first question is, when you look forward to hopefully not the too far distant future and this is built, and you think it's been a fabulous success, what has happened and what does that look like? So what does success look like to you for this project? And then the counter to that is, what are you most concerned about?
I think first, success is just, I think the lowest bar is just changing the name from Ambassador Park to Syuktun Village Park. That would be a success to me. I know the Ambassador Hotel, Potter Hotel, was there for about 18 years, and my ancestors were there for hundreds, if not thousands of years. So for me, that would be the lowest, that would be a success to me. Just changing the name so that people can acknowledge the existence and kind of know about the Chumash and see that there's more than just a patch of grass. Like, I used to run by and just think it's just a patch of grass. I didn't realize it was a park, or even some of my ancestors are buried there, that there's artifacts under the ground. So for me, that would be a success, I think. And then, I'm sorry, what was your second question?
What are you most concerned about?
I think my biggest concern was something that Ms. Zachary brought up and Commissioner Chang brought up, is the maintenance cost. And trying to overcome that hurdle in order to get this project approved. I know that it's with all the plants that, at least in the conceptual design, it could be expensive, possibly, maintaining a property like that. So that's my big concern. And so.
Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate that. I think it's just good to have that, the richness of that conversation.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
thanks. I appreciate it. Commissioner Clark?
Yeah.
Hello, Commissioner Clark?
My only question was, do you like the conceptual plan as presented?
I do like the conceptual plan. a lot of times people will reference the Chumash as kind of one body, and we're all in one agreement. But if you know a little bit about the Chumash, there's lots of different bands in County of Santa Barbara. And so even within the bands, a lot of people all have different opinions and comments. And so I was very impressed at the way KTUA was able to gather up all these ideas from dozens of people and kind of bring them together. And people, I think most everybody agreed with the way we presented it. So it's pretty neat, because there's a lot of different ideas and a lot of meetings that we've had, because this has been going on since 2017. And so the city's been involved for the last couple of years. But yeah, I was pretty amazed. I was glad I didn't have Matt's job, because it's hard to come to a consensus, I think so.
Thanks. And then Commissioner O'Donnell.
What is the exact band? Is it the Coastal Band? Is it,
So the California Coastal Commission, they invited several bands. They invited the San Ynez Band, they invited the Coastal Band, the Barbareño Band, and then there's also a Ventureño band, I think from Ojai, that they invited. And they may have invited also San Luis Obispo, but I don't think they were involved. So it's community members from all the different bands came together and were able to comment.
and the actual band that was living there?
So at the time, there were not specific bands. It was just kind of, there's all political things, but probably it would be Coastal and Barbareño bands that were living there at the time.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
All right, and our second and last speaker is Beth Pruitt. And same drill, the clock will start and there'll be 2 minutes.
Okay, great.
Thanks.
Thank you for the time from the commission. I'm attending today to draw attention of the commission to the City Commission Eucalyptus Tree Risk Assessment Report that covered the trees along Mesa Lane and Mesa School Lane, October 9th, 2023, by consulting arborist Bill Spivak. The report raised several concerns with all of the trees and questioned whether the city should even keep the species of trees in residential areas in proximity to houses. The report highlights significant risk from limb drop, fueling fires, or from trees spontaneously toppling. I'd like to note that 2 across from our home fell at this time last year, 1 towards a house and caused significant property damage.
Ms. Pruitt, I'm sorry, may I interrupt you? I do apologize. We are well past public comment for general items, and we're
Oh, I'm
actually on
sorry.
specific agenda items. So there's really no, I guess what I'm going to suggest is you come back next month and speak at the beginning of the meeting.
Okay, yeah, unfortunately, I teach at
Okay.
UC Santa Barbara, and I can't get here at the beginning of the meeting.
Okay, so what you could possibly do, probably the best thing to do is send us written comment.
How can I do that? I tried to do that,
Oh, we did.
and Jill Zachary referred me to submit a street tree application, but I'm not convinced these trees fall under street tree application, and she said I could also come to the commission and
Yeah.
ask you about the report, but unfortunately, I can't get here at 4 o'clock.
Yeah, I mean, the issue we got is we're in the middle of an agenda item on something very, very, very different, and there's really no way to get this into the record where you're speaking. So if written comment would be really helpful, and then maybe we can offline work how we get you to
Okay. I
you
would
know,
happy to
even a
submit that
separate.
again, if
yeah.
I know who to send that to. I sent it to Courtney, and it got sent to Jill and
Yeah,
not to you.
it's not that we don't want to hear you, we want to
Yep.
get you so that we can really hear you.
I appreciate that.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so can someone tell me who to send it to? Because I tried emailing the contact on the commission. Are you Courtney? Okay,
Well, you
I
can
email-
speak after, why don't we get through this and
I
then.
emailed Courtney.
Yeah, and
then-
email Courtney and contact Courtney and
I
then.
did. I emailed this, and it got diverted to Jill, and it never
Okay.
made it to you.
Ms.
so.
Pruitt, we'll follow up with you after
Yeah,
the meeting.
we will make sure you,
There are several of us here from,
Yeah,
who
we'll-
have the same concern about the report.
yeah,
and
we'll make sure that.
Thank you.
We can, however we need to do it, we'll make sure you get up here, but we'll do it at the right time.
Thank you.
In the right way, so we can hear you properly. Thank you.
I'm new to this. This is my first, I didn't know there was an agenda.
That's okay.
That you were forming with that.
That's okay. It's a bit for me, yeah, that's okay. Thanks. Okay, so.
We've all been there.
So we do have no more public speakers, unless we do have anybody online for the
Vice Chair McGill, there is no one online.
Okay, great. And do we have any further discussion? I think this discussion has been fairly much a part of the process. It's very exciting. But I'm sure, like with everything, there's going to be a road to go down, and there'll be people that are used to doing that park being one thing, and now it's going to be something else, and that will be a conversation to be had. And I think, I really take to heart your comments that sometimes you have to say, this is the only place there is, and this is the right thing to do at the right time. And I would guess that ultimately with conversation, everybody will largely get on board with that. And I think it's really exciting.
Vice Chair McGill and Commissioners, I neglected to add that the project received favorable comments from the Historic Landmarks Commission.
Yeah.
Which we took as a good sign, and moving forward, again, as I mentioned, like any project that we do, there's always quite a bit of community engagement. We're very fortunate to have had the opportunity to work with Chumash community members, and as Mr. Yi mentioned, a diversity of voices and a diversity of opinions, and their engagement, because that really drove our ability to come forward with a design that we feel like we can now continue working on and hopefully turn into a reality sooner rather than later.
Yeah. Thanks. Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
That takes sense. Yeah, thank you very much. All right, that takes us to our last agenda item, which is advisory committee liaison appointments. I guess we're just going to, by caveat, put Jacob and Evelyn back in their existing spots, and then we'll manage that if we need to next meeting. I am going to, rather than open it for general discussion, I would just say if there's anybody who is looking to make a change to do something different, let's take that. The only thing I think makes the most sense and it's a very small thing, and we did it once before and it just didn't happen, is probably makes most sense for me to be the primary on IPM, just with your schedule and my schedule. And we kind of tag team anyways, but I'm more likely to be available that particular day than you are. So if that meets with everybody's okay, let's make that change.
And I'm very happy to stay on stack.
You've made that so clear. Those of you who weren't here a couple of years ago, I thought that Commissioner Clark was so busy I would offer to take her spot on stack because she was working these huge shifts during COVID, and I thought my head might be removed. Gently, yes. So if everyone is okay, I will say we'll leave things the way they are, and we'll just see if Chair Feck and Commissioner Lesner-Buxton come back with anything. I don't think they will.
Is the designation of an alternate a formal procedure? Because I'm happy to, if anyone's going to miss a meeting, I'm happy to step in, but do we need to?
If there's something where we could use an alternate, is there anybody who feels like, is there a committee that you would like to participate in?
No, no, I mean, they're all quite interesting, I think.
Yeah, they are, yeah.
So Vice Chair McGill, it would be really helpful to go through the list and indicate who would continue to serve on that as an liaison and who might like to be an alternate.
Okay, I'm happy to do that.
The department is certainly happy to have alternates if the commission would like to do that.
Okay, I'm quite happy. Okay, so let's just start with arts and craft. Commissioner Renata-Laberge, you okay continuing?
I am okay continuing. I do have a hard time with making the meetings
All right.
at times.
So is there anyone who would like to step in as an alternate for that?
Sure, I'll step in as an alternate.
Okay, so I'm going to say we don't need to vote on all the alternates unless, but.
And that means I'll receive the emails that go out? Okay.
Okay. Creeks, Commissioner Aldana, you?
Yes, I'll go round two.
Okay. De La Guerra Plaza Revitalization Design Subcommittee. I feel about that one the way that Nicole feels about Stack, so I would like to continue. Golf, Commissioner Chang?
Yeah, I'll stay on golf.
Okay. IPM, I think we've already talked about. I'll go to primary, and Nicole, you want to continue as park? I will,
Chair McGill, so Commissioner Clark as an alternate to
yes,
IPM Advisory
yes,
Committee?
yes, for IPM, yes. And then the Park Foundation, I'm happy to continue with that one.
Yeah, Chair McGill and Commissioners, I think the Park Foundation is going to be looking at its board structure, so
Yeah.
if there's something that changes, we'd bring it back to the
Yeah,
commission.
I wouldn't do anything more with that at this point. Street trees, gosh, I wonder what we should do with street. And then, so Nicole will continue as the Stack liaison. And then the Youth Council, we have Jacob Lesnar Buxton and Evelyn Feck. And why don't we just assume that that's going to stay the way it is unless there's, we'll revert if we need to. Does that get you what you need?
I think so. Maybe, Courtney, why don't you read the list back?
So for Arts and Crafts Show, I have Commissioner Menander LaBerge with Commissioner Chang as an alternate. For Creeks Restoration and Water Quality Improvement Program, I have Commissioner Aldana. For De La Guerra Plaza Revitalization Design Subcommittee, I have Vice Chair McGill. For Golf Committee, I have Commissioner Chang. For IPM, I have Vice Chair McGill as the primary and Commissioner Clark as an alternate. For the Park Foundation, I have Vice Chair McGill. For Street Tree Advisory Committee, I have Commissioner Clark. And for Youth Council, I have Commissioner Lesnar Buxton and Chair Feck as the alternate.
Yep, that's, what I think where we are. So thank you for that, and I think that takes us out. Commissioner Aldana?
Just by chance, if there was an interest to attend a meeting, whether it be 2 months down the line, 3 months down the line, is it okay to join in or only the actual liaison?
I think they're almost all open.
So Vice Chair McGill and Commissioner Aldana, as a liaison, you're there to listen and hear what's going on as part of the committee, not to jump in and be part of the discussion or action. Certainly, if you have an interest in attending a committee meeting, it'd be good to advise staff of that, just so that we know in advance that you'll be there, and that you're just there because you'd like to listen.
To listen. Okay, thank you.
I think most of them are open meetings anyways, or at least a lot of them are. All right. That is the end of our agenda, so I will adjourn this meeting. Thank you very much.